Heyo, welcome back to Law's Lemon. I'm Law, and it's been a while since we've had a hacking the system video, but this week I will be showing you guys how to get a free VPN for a whole year. As always, like if you guys like the video, and please consider subscribing. We are super close to hitting 50 subs before the end of the year. And I'm also interested if you guys have any other ideas on how to hack the system, leave them down in the comments below and I'll check them out. Alright guys, so I'm going to break down how to get a VPN for free for a year into 3 simple steps. Step 1 is going to be launching our VPN server on AWS. Step 2 is going to be configuring our server in Windows PowerShell. And step 3 is going to be downloading the app on your device to connect to the VPN. So how are we going to achieve our free 1 year of VPN? We're going to take advantage of AWS's free tier. When you sign up for a free AWS account, we get all of these benefits for free for 1 whole year. So to start, we're going to go to aws.amazon.com. And here you'll see at the top right, we have a create AWS account. So for those of you who want to follow along and do not have an AWS account yet, here you can sign up. I already have one, so I'm just going to log into my AWS account real quick. Alright guys, so as soon as you make your account or log in, we are going to see at the top right, we have a bunch of locations here. So these are basically where your VPN server will be hosted. So if you want your IP to look like it's coming from Asia, choose a server from Asia. If you want your IP to look like it's coming from Europe, choose a European server. But I'm just going to keep it close to home. I guess we'll just go US East North Virginia, just choosing one randomly. And we're going to want to go to EC2, which should be right here, but if it's not, you can always click on services and under the compute tab you'll see EC2. Now once we're in the EC2 tab, we simply want to launch an instance, and what an instance is a basically virtual server or virtual computer. So this is going to be our computer that we're going to host in the cloud that's going to handle our VPN server. Now we're going to be prompted to choose a machine image, and basically this is just what kind of OS you want to be running. So you can see you could be running Linux, Mac OS, you can be running Windows Server, Ubuntu servers, but what we really want is to go to the AWS Marketplace here and type in OpenVPN. And we're going to choose this first one here called OpenVPN Access Server. And as you see, it's free tier eligible, so this should not cost you a penny. We're going to hit select, and this is where we're going to see a little chart that will show you the cost. Now for us, we're going to only have 2 people connected, so it's actually going to cost $0. And for the first year when we have our free AWS account, it's going to also cost $0 on both sides, so don't worry about that. Just hit continue. Next, we're going to be prompted to choose our instance type, so just how many CPU cores do we want, how many gigabytes of storage or memory do we want, and we're just going to go T2 micro because then again it is free tier eligible. Now we're just going to skip everything else. I know there are a lot more settings, but to keep it simple, we're just going to hit review and launch and then launch. Now once we hit launch, we're going to be prompted to select an existing key pair or create a new one. And a key pair is basically your key to log into your server later. So this is super important. We're going to create a new key pair. And when we create a new key pair, you're going to have to give it a name. So you can call it anything. I'm just going to call it like AWS VPN. And very important for you to download this key pair now because you will not be able to download it anytime in the future. And so I'm just going to simply drop this into my downloads folder right here. And as soon as you download it, you can now launch your instance. Now this might take a second or two, but just let it run. Alright, so after you give it a couple minutes, you will land on this page, which shows that your instance is now launched, i.e. your server is now up on Amazon's cloud. And we can now go look at that server by clicking this link right here. Or as always, if you get lost, just hit the services tab under compute. You can go to EC2 and click on your instances running. So now we see our server here is running. It looks good. We are now done installing our server on the cloud. So now we're going to move on to part 2. Part 2, we're trying to connect to the server to configure it. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on this instant ID here, click connect, and you'll see that there are 3 different ways to connect to our server, and we're going to go with the SSH client. Down here at the bottom, there's an example command on how to connect. We're just going to copy that to our clipboard. Next, we're going to open up our Windows PowerShell. And once you have your Windows PowerShell open, we're just going to paste the command in, which is a right click. But before we run this, we need to make sure that we specify where our key pair file is. Remember when we downloaded that key pair, we downloaded it into the downloads folder. So I'm going to simply write downloads here, / and then the name that you gave it. Now we're going to hit enter. It's going to run through a couple lines of codes, and it's going to ask you if you want to connect the key pair, and you're going to say yes and hit enter. And there's a quick agreement, and we're just going to blindly accept it because who actually reads these things. Now it's going to ask you about all these settings, and for me, I highly suggest you guys just keep the default settings. And to keep the default settings, we're just going to keep hitting enter. So just hit enter a couple of times, just accept all the default settings, and eventually you'll be done, and it'll run a couple more lines of code. And now that our settings are all configured, you can now see that there's a little message at the bottom to please log in as the user VPN AS rather than the user root. So we're going to do exactly what it says. We are going to copy our command back from earlier, which is just a right click, and you should get that back. We're going to have to do the same thing where we're going to get rid of these quotation marks and specify where your file is. Mine's in a downloads / AWS VPN. And we're going to change this root right here where it says instead of root, we want to use open VPN AS. And we're going to hit enter to run that command now. And you're going to see a couple of lines go, and that is basically it. There's one more thing we have to do before we're done, and that is to make our password. So what you want to do is type in sudo sudo, type in pass wd, and then open VPN. Now it's going to prompt you to enter a new password. This is totally up to you. Create whatever password you want. But just a quick note, as you type, it will not show up on the screen, but don't worry, it's going to be there. Just type in your password and hit enter. It'll prompt you to retype it, type it again. Again, it won't show up on your screen, but if you type it correctly and hit enter, it'll say password successfully updated. So now we are totally done with the Windows PowerShell configuration. We can now close out, which is just type in exit. And that's most of part 2 done. We have one more quick thing. So let's go back to our EC2 instance. And we're going to click on the instant ID again, where we'll find our public IPv4 address. Now this is going to be the IP address of your server that can be seen on the internet. So we're going to copy that, open our new tab, and do type in https:///, paste in that IP address that we just got. And if you left everything as the default value earlier, we're going to go to port 943 and /admin because we want to change one more setting. It's going to tell you your connection is not private. That's totally fine. Just hit advance and proceed. Boom. Now we have our access server admin login. So type in open VPN, and the password is exactly what you made in the PowerShell. Once you sign in, it'll give you this quick terms of service. Just hit agree. And we are now in our admin page. You can see 2 VPN connections are allowed because these are free. We're going to just go to our VPN settings, and we just need to change one thing, and that is right here. Should client internet traffic be routed through VPN? We want to change that from a no to a yes. Scroll to the bottom, save the settings, and update running server up here. And then that is part 2 completely done. We have at this point launched our VPN server on AWS. We have configured it in Windows PowerShell. And now the last part is to download the app on your PC or your phone or your tablet so you can connect to the VPN. And that's pretty simple. We're going to go back up to the address bar here and just delete everything up to the admin page. And now we're going to hit enter. And now we're going to be prompted for user login instead of admin login. So we're going to do the exact same thing. So open VPN, password is whatever you just made. Log in, and boom, there we go. Now it's going to tell you to download for whichever platform you have. If you have a Windows PC, you can click on Windows. It supports Mac OS, Linux, Android, and iOS. So really any kind of device you have, if you want to connect it to a VPN, you come here to download it. So for me, I have a Windows, so we're going to download the Windows. So now that I've downloaded the installer, I'm going to open up the installer, and we're going to hit more info here and run anyways. And we're going to simply do a quick install, accept everything they ask for. Boom. All right, guys. So once we have that downloaded, we're going to look at the bottom right of our toolbar where we should see a Open VPN little symbol. We're going to click on it, and we're going to skip the tour because we don't need the tour. Agreement, hit the yes and okay. And now we have our VPN profile right here. We simply click that and log in with the same login credentials, open VPN, and your password that you set. Hit OK, and we should connect to our VPN now. And that looks really good to me. Let's do a quick check. We're going to go on to Google, and we're going to type in what's my IP. And let's click on this, and let's see where we are. Boom, look at my IP. It thinks that I am in Virginia, which I am not, and this public IP address is not my public IP address. So as you can see, our VPN has worked perfectly. So you guys can download and use up to 2 devices, and it'll be free for an entire year. So if you guys give this a try, let me know in the comments down below if it works for you guys. And of course, make sure to hit that like button if it works for you, and please subscribe. We are super close to hitting 50 subs before the end of the year.